Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
We are back with that meat.
It's like meat.
Come with it.
I only had proper barbecue once, but I had another barbecue on the last day. It was so good.
At Pinkerton's. We just got back from Houston, everybody. It was the annual Specialty Coffee Expo. This is why we're all juiced up. This is what we're talking about.
This is what we need.
This is why we're talking about these interesting food places that we did and did not go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
the
always come
people.
back with like high energy.
High energy. A lot of energy.
I was not there, but I remember the energy.
You'll be there again.
Someday.
All you got to do is tell the school to stop.
Next year in San Diego, I feel like it's close enough to make it work.
Yeah. We don't
Right.
have
There's a way.
to change my daughter's birthday or
You can do a
anything.
whole day
Or
of,
just like,
just
you can just
pop
do a
down
day
for a
if you
day.
want to.
Felix, your birthday is now
Yeah. Like we're
March
going to celebrate
16th.
Because I mean, SCA is really over this 3 or 4 day window. It's a 1 hour flight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've always not celebrated birthday parties on the birthday. We've just done a little, like we make a tradition just to make sure in case, because sometimes you can't get everybody together too.
Yeah.
It's like if it's midweek. So that's always helpful. Then you do a little tradition and just roll out. Be like, birthday party is next week, dude. Let's go.
Phoenix, this year your birthday is in San Diego.
Yeah, exactly.
Happy
We're going to take you to the
birthday.
zoo. I mean, that's actually, you got plenty down there.
Yeah, zoo would be great.
I'm also, it's also like 2 hours from Disney. I'm like, I bet you I could convince a big group to like let me attempt to liaison them and see what really happens.
Yeah, take them to Disney.
Attempt to liaison.
Yeah, dude. Well, they've had me liaison groups before, but I'm like, what if I like made an event of it and saw like, what if 50 people showed up? I'm like, damn, I gotta go. Let's
You need
see
one
what
of those
happens.
flags.
That's just, hey, I just,
He
who
wears like
knows,
safety
dude? I
orange
was just-
vest.
Everybody follow me.
I will
Stay
lead you
with your
through.
group.
Yeah, I'm like,
His little crossing guard
You get to the
stop sign
front,
to
yeah.
stop the other
like,
people.
how many of you are on this group? 50. And they're like, oh, damn.
All right, everybody, find a buddy.
Yeah, how's your line
You're gonna
counting
stick
going?
with your buddy the whole time.
Next up, we're going on Snow White.
Now listen, the Matterhorn can be scary. There is a snow monster.
There's a couple of snow
All right?
monsters. They call
Don't
them
worry.
Yetis. Yeah,
Also, a basketball court on the top. Right?
there is inside. Yeah, one little rim.
Respect, dude.
Anyway, yeah, we're ready.
All right,
Next year in San Diego.
since I wasn't there, give me your Expo highlights.
Expo highlights. Every year before Expo, I'm thinking, should I even go to Expo? That's my thought process. I've been to Expo 10 billion times. I think I've missed 2 years in the past 15 years or
Yeah.
something like that. So I'm always just like, do I need to go? And then the highlights are always the same. The people are great. You know, lots of good energy from just everybody. I mean, I think people are genuinely happy to be together and get to chat with one another. And then for us, a lot of good feedback on things like the podcast that we do and just sharing our journey of building this business and creating our culture. And it feels like it's really empowering for people or inspirational or insert whatever word you want. And it's really just kind of cool to get that feedback and to be able to talk with people who have, heard us speak about things or know who we are, but we haven't met, or maybe it's people that we've met, we only see once a year.
Yeah, I think
It's-
that's cool that we're still hearing it like 10 years in.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of an evolution, right? Because there's some foundational things that we have to walk through to be able to run a business and create the culture that we want to create. But as we grow, the challenges are a little different than they are at this stage of the game than they were in 2016 when we started. I mean, they're all based off the same things, but running a company with 100 plus people is different than running a company with
And
we had 8 people at our first orientation, and they're all essentially frontline employees. Like, we had maybe one dedicated roastery staff, but we were all kind of roasting coffee. No dedicated admin staff. Yeah, so I think the evolution is there. This is really fun. Highlights.
A lot.
Event-wise, for me, the panel was great.
yeah, the Cafe Imports, Green Coffee.
Yeah, so we hosted a panel. Cafe Imports put the whole thing together. 4 green coffee buyers from various companies, which I thought it was a really good move. Mostly talking about, really, there's a huge focus on tariffs and the market together.
Yeah.
And what that looks like for people who are running roaster retailers or other people who are buying green coffee, but maybe not on the scale that some of these other people are buying coffee in, right? There's just all these different, what do you call them? I guess customers of the coffee industry
Sure.
and
that are all facing like higher costs right now and trying to figure out how how everybody can navigate that with their own business. And
right. And I think it's important for people who live in different worlds to be able to come together and have these conversations and speak openly about the challenges that they're facing, you know? So that was a really cool panel. I love doing shit like that. It was super fun.
During those uncertain times, it all ended up coming back to different versions of collaboration and relationships. I mean, in education as well.
Yeah, because when you were talking about our team and just like our team's experience, I feel like was like a highlight for you, Jared.
Well, I mean, and I was just referencing Chris at Chris's talk. Like a lot of the responses had to do in some regard, aside from monetary and business metric shit. There was conversations around collaboration or relationship development, and meaning like if people love your business and what you do, it's going to be fine in some regard eventually, and then also educating people so that price appropriate metrics and margins are on the table. But you're right. I think we sit right now in this interesting sweet spot where we are set up to be mentors. It felt like mentors of young and upcoming business owners. We're still connecting with barista culture, and that was really fun for me to specifically just serve coffee and do what we do, because if you do it here, you do it, but you're kind of getting in the way of scheduling and people training and leadership. And it's like, it's funny. People on our team, they might not realize this, but it's like they want us to come in and make coffee in the cafe, but there's also a bunch of objectives and things that are supposed to happen in the cafes that we would be distracting if we did so. And I'm saying this in that I don't know if a lot of baristas, I'm tangenting, but I'll come back, but they might not realize that if like the owners come in and take practice time for an up and coming barista, or take space from a leadership team who's trying to practice coaching and developing a flow in their cafe where they need people to be in different places. Like there's a lot of intention that goes into how we run our spaces.
Right.
And so it's not always like the owners don't want to or like to make coffee anymore. It's just like there's bigger objectives than showing the world that Jared, Chris, and whomever can like ball out on an espresso machine. And so it was an interesting thing to realize is I'm over there doing this, and people are like, hey, do you get it on bar anymore? And I'm like, hey, not so much. And this is why it's one of my favorite things to do, is to make you guys espresso and can geek out like this, share it for real. But here's why we're not on there so much. It's not that I don't want to go in and work a bar shift. It's just truly not the best use of time for everybody involved in our business.
100%.
Anyways, but watching our team be able to run a service, because they ran some on their own without ourselves.
Yeah, because who was like Alyssa
was there. Dulce, Herman, Eddie, Johnson.
Did you get Johnson on bar?
Yeah, a
little bit.
Johnson.
Nice.
Everybody jumped on in some regard somewhere.
Yeah.
Johnson and Eddie were a little scared. Let's just put it out
They were
there.
nervous.
They were a little nervous. They were a little shook.
They're both green to specialty. They're both. Johnson's been especially geek, but he's only been working with us for just over a year ish.
Right. And now he's leading the roastery now. So
We had a lot of amazing
got
conversations about how he got to his position without necessarily being like a hardcore barista or roaster prior, but different conversation. It was amazing to watch everybody engage, own their spots, and support what we do. I mean, that to me, I told them all on the last day, it kind of blew my mind more so than any other trip I've been on, because it was more, they went to booths, they connected with potential partners and asked questions and found ways to promote what we're trying to do internally and grow our business too in their own way, as well as just owning what they do. And we also had a lot of fun, dude. It was great. So the highlight for me would have technically been, making coffee. It would have also, though, been reconnecting with so many people that, I made a little post about it. It's just, we all who have been in this industry for a long time have built something and touched a lot of it. And now it's like the tributaries are wide, and these people that have been influential are all over the place. But we come back together, and there's like, we're sharing and having conversations with people who are coming up in these groups, and then you're sharing history with them at the same time. And that's kind of like, it was really cool. You're like sitting there and you're like, oh yeah, I'm sitting with Ryan Wilbur, who's talking about the first ever barista camp thing, which was that time with you and Drew and Brent Fortune and all of us up the coast and Costa Noah.
Oh, when we got together
with this group of people who at the time had just found out because they only recognized my voice from this podcast, and they were like hearing this, and then I was like, oh yeah, and that's crazy. That's where actually Devin, Petey, and you coined the name Trubaka, which was how Chris and I started that name for our blog, and we used that blog to launch the 1-in-1 like a year later. And it's just like people are like, whoa, that's how that happened. And it's just, you don't think about that stuff until you're in those moments where you're having a time. And Scott Guglielmino's there. He's like, yeah, it was crazy. And for all this at a LM party, you know, and then we go out and line dance. So
Saw some of that footage.
yeah, dude, I was not good at it.
I
but
could tell.
I
Yeah.
was about to be.
Yeah. Dude,
You need a little practice.
Yeah,
Need a
you
little
can-
more,
I feel
like, time under your belt there.
Trust any of your dance moves.
You
Give
could
you
see
a
it.
little
You could
practice
see it,
time.
Chuck.
You
You've seen me
know?
on the-
I've seen you on the
b-ball
dance
floor.
floor.
You can see me move my body.
You know how
Did
to
you look
move
at any
your body.
products?
I looked at some products, yes, and there's actually a lot of potential. I don't know how to. That's not true. I always know how to figure it out. But yes, I looked at some interesting, like the Latte Art Factory stuff's interesting. I was watching
Tell me
people.
about that. I didn't actually see it. I heard about it.
I mean, there's multiple versions of it, but the simplest way to, unfortunately, make it sound rudimentary is, you know, something shoots out perfectly steamed product, and you can pour latte art with it. And I was just watching, 20, 30 seconds, fills up the pitcher to X amount, swirl it, pour amazing latte art.
So it's
A
a
version
milk.
of a
It's a
steam
milk
wand?
tap. It's a milk tap that dispenses perfectly textured milk.
Yeah, but there's also other versions. So you can do the cold. There's cold version. Maybe you're all integrated into one. I didn't get to ask questions. It was kind of slammed, but I wanted to see it. So Herman and I stood back, and he did walk up and push the button on one of them and accidentally dispensed a bunch of like nitro and or version of like a cold brew something or other, like a cold brew latte, draft lattes thing.
So can you
On the
dispense
fly.
different things from the same tap?
There,
With
it looked like one of them you could
vending
do
machine
two.
style.
Yeah,
You
one
can
of them
kinda
you could do
choose?
two, and maybe there's more. Like I said, I didn't talk to anybody because it was, but I watched demonstrations. On this side, it was pouring out just one version of something. On this side, it was a couple things. I don't know how many. As a concept, I could see how that could work really well for people. Honestly, between you could. I think one of the things I overheard somebody saying is, we got this and we put all of our chocolate drinks on it. So everything, hot chocolate, you just lining up these pitchers and then you push the button and 30 seconds later, the full hot chocolate comes out, and or the mocha base. And then you can put your espresso in and pour your mocha, and it's just, everything's out the door pre-mixed. And anyway, there's many versions of that. I had a really great time at both Mazzer and La Marzocco booths. I mean, I know them well, but they have new products, and they've got, fun grinders at Mazzer that I think were making some really nice tasting coffee. And I mean, I know they were. There were some new products there that they were trying out and doing like blind tastings. So
Yeah, that was kind of a fun one, interesting one. So
the blind side by side.
yeah, I think I really appreciate what they were doing. So they had two grinders with different burst sets running the same coffee and the quote unquote same extraction, which
Didn't happen for you, but it did happen.
it didn't
for
happen
me.
for me. I mean, here's the thing. It's like, I don't really care about coffee quality on a trade show floor because
I know,
it's this
it's
really
so hard.
interesting scenario where you've got the best baristas in the world all in one building, and it's the worst coffee that you've ever had.
Yeah, it's always like
I'm being
hot.
a little hyperbolic, but there's so many challenges to making coffee in this remote setting. You got weird water, weird equipment. It's maybe not your coffee. You don't have enough time to dial in. It's just like so many quirks that come along with making, coffee on a trade show floor. It's not your stuff, it's someone else's.
Yeah.
So, but they were doing this side by side, where I think they are in the right direction, but got it wrong is they had these categories, it's like clarity or this or that. And it's like, choose which one.
Yeah.
But I think maybe a more open-ended is, just why? Like, what was
what for you?
what was what
Yeah.
for you? Because both of they're basically the two different burr profiles, and it's not hard to pull out. It's like one of them feels like a more traditional something that you would get from a Coney or a Rober, where it's that classic Mazzer profile, thick and sticky shots, like the stuff we all grew up with.
Right.
We'll call it front end of third wave espresso, which is now quote unquote old school, but not second wave. And then
for
the
sure.
other one's more light, bright, clarity of flavor, a more modern shot. And I'm just like I guess maybe it's just market research, but I'm just like, man, why pick one? Just produce both of these things
Yeah.
and market them as such. And maybe that's what they're going to do.
I think they are. But I agree with you. I think it was just market research, like see what happens. Because we weren't also supposed to, we got the like, we've been in the industry. So they're like, hey, this is what you voted for afterwards.
Well, it's kind of
But you're supposed
painfully
to be-
obvious when you're tasting them.
I mean,
you
I
know
thought
what
it
I
was
mean?
obvious
It's
too,
just
yeah.
like I had one shot. My shot from the more modern, quote unquote, modern burst set was a little over extracted. So, but you could tell exactly what was happening.
Yeah,
and the
totally.
theme repeated itself throughout their booth to where they had that major something on the counter.
The one that we used on the right side.
Yeah. So this is kind of geeky, but
There's geeks out there,
In-
it turns out, that like to listen to this.
in the Mazzer world, you've got the flat burr stuff and the conical burr stuff, right? And that's like the big split. Flat burr, you've got the super jolly, the major.
for a more even flavor.
Conical burr set.
I mean, sorry.
Conical burr set, you've got the Coney and the Rober.
Can you insert
But-
New Girl quote there?
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah. Make something
No,
special.
there's a New Girl quote about a conical burr set.
Oh yeah, Schmidt is
Yeah,
talking
it's
about his
so
grinder.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
put
little
that in, please.
barista rant.
Thank you. Yeah.
I was watching the new Daredevil
Yeah.
update, and multiple times the guy who plays the Punisher, the dude's fucking awesome. He's in Ford versus Ferrari, Lee Iacocca.
Oh, yeah.
He's just, there ain't nothing in the world a good cup of black coffee can't solve, and he just drops it like 3 or 4 times.
You're all, that's
on Matt
me, dude.
Murdock,
That
and
is
I'm like,
who I am.
fuck yeah, dude, let's go. He's
Sorry.
right.
I couldn't help myself.
So they got the flat burr, conical burr camp, but they're experimenting with their flat burr. So if you pull out a Mazzer and look at the flat burrs, it doesn't look like a Malkonig burr set where you've got these one long burr cut throughout the whole burr. It's almost got these, think shark teeth, where these like jagged edges. And the idea behind it is, instead of the modern take, which is we want the most even particle size possible, you cut a small but predictable spread of particle sizes, and that small but predictable spread of particle sizes seems to be responsible for those old school traditional like thick and sticky shots. So the major, insert whatever name it was after
Major D.
after the fact, the major. this is
Actually, we
where
were supposed to, because that was our band name on the joke. They were making tiramisu, and it was Major D and the Ladyfingers.
Is it the major D? Is that what it is?
No, it's got.
Like
I think it starts
maitre
with D. I think it starts with the D though.
Anyway, this one
Graham,
has
you can tell us.
This has a flat burr set that does have just the full straight cut, so it's better at that clarity of flavor thing. Anyway, Mazzer booth was interesting because I feel like they haven't done anything new for, no bullshit, like 25 years. It's been a very long time since they've done R&D. They've basically been running with different versions of the same. And I talked to Scott
I
about
was
this.
gonna say I got to hear the story too. It's not ours to tell, but there's a reason they just
Yeah, I didn't even get in the reason,
no,
but
not
I
deep,
was
just family business stuff.
But I was thinking like, oh, this is cool. It's kind of refreshing because I grew up on this stuff, and it seems like it's time to do something different. And he's like, oh yeah, it's time. So they're on the little R&D hunt. A lot of grinder stuff going on.
Yeah, definitely a lot of grinder stuff
A
going
lot
on.
of grinder stuff going on. Malkonig's got obviously their new thing. They sent over some grinders, made
Yep.
a video about that where
Yep.
they have the.
You just launched that video, yeah?
Yep, you can click on it, bro. Put the link below, Wiser. It's pretty interesting. I haven't used it to its full capability because you can basically connect it to an espresso machine,
Right.
and it adjusts itself, which is pretty wild.
Right.
My favorite feature on that, though, honestly, is the internal calibration. You can calibrate the grinder without taking it apart,
That's nice.
which I think is brilliant. It's kind of the least sexy feature that they're promoting, but I think it's probably the most
like
practical.
super useful.
Yeah, I mean, we've had instances where, usually if you calibrate a grinder, you got to take it all apart.
Oh my
so you could
gosh.
take the whole grinder apart. It doesn't take a long time. It's not tricky, but if you don't put it back together the right way,
Yeah.
and this happened a couple weeks ago.
It happens,
I
yeah.
came in the morning, and Diego was just like, something's wrong with the machine.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what's happening is he thought the machine was stopped up, and I thought it was too for a second. Adjusting the collar on the grinder, and nothing is happening.
Yeah.
It turns out the collar wasn't connected to
It's
the
just
burr
not moving
carrier because
anything.
when it got
Right.
disassembled and put back together, that just it wasn't moving anything. So that's just something that happens. But with this one, you just take all the coffee out of it, don't take anything apart, and you just you can use the electronic wheel to chirp the burrs in the grinder, back them off, and program
It's
it.
so much better, right? It just removes the
Yeah, put that on the
potential
EK,
for
put it
so much
everywhere.
error.
Removes
or
the potential
so
for
much
so
human
much-
mistake.
Especially if, okay, I'm looking at 2 grinders here. We've got 4 cafes. They
Right.
each have 3
Calibrate.
espresso grinders in
Yeah.
it. At any given time, there's 20 grinders that need to be calibrated across our whole situation. The other cool thing about the calibration is because usually when you chirp the burrs and you back it off,
Yeah.
or if you're programming an EK for espresso, you might chirp the burrs and leave
just
it. But it's
barely,
like you've got that micron readout.
Sure.
So when you back it off, you know exactly how much you're backing it off.
Mm-hmm.
So I can chirp the burrs, back it off 2 microns, and do that with every grinder.
Yeah,
Versus
exactly.
if you are kind of backing it off by feel, which is the traditional way, you're just I backed it off a little bit.
Yep.
Across like
Yeah.
just doing the same thing for 20 different
a
grinders.
little bit. It was a little bit backed off.
Yeah.
Anyway, the tech's crazy. I like that. The Mazzer stuff. What's the milk thing called?
Oh, that's a latte,
Latte
art
art
factory.
factory.
But there's multiple versions,
It's just
right?
right. How automated can we get without getting fully automated?
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
it-
even La Marzocco's had the built-in La Marzocco's, but that's not what I meant. They had the built-in thermometer, so the milk.
Oh,
they
that
have-
was actually
it's
cool,
smart.
too.
Yeah,
That's
auto
pretty
shut off
cool.
at
Right.
X temperature.
yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these things. I think that's the
Also,
move.
them not polishing. What's the word for the front? It is.
Oh, the matte finish on the Linea.
Yeah, matte. I think matte finish in general is a smart idea, so that they look good longer.
I mean, a polished
Stainless
stainless
matte.
steel machine has a lifespan of 1 day.
Yeah.
Like as soon as one person hits it with the wrong towel, it's over
Yep.
for the whole machine.
Yeah, they're
It's
like
it's a
microfiber
wrap.
is a good idea, and I'm gonna put some water on it.
It's just
Can't
it's
put water on a microfiber. It's over.
It's-
now it's smeared.
schmear.
Now I've got a smeared machine.
Someone accidentally hits it with Scotch Brite, and your whole life is
scratch,
ruined.
Scratch. Yeah, might as well be
Yeah.
half matte.
Yeah, it's just oh,
We got a
gosh.
matte corner.
Oh, we need to wrap the machine next door, dude. It's
Got to wrap all the machines.
It's
Got to
just
wrap 'em
always-
up. endless. I mean, and then I'd say thank you to all the people who gave us love, but also thank you to our team. It was like people recognized Weiser and Alyssa and Herman by way of us putting out stories about them. People recognize Weiser a lot from his voice and his face, and it was cool to see. Like, and then man, we just have a lot of friends out there we've done a lot of life with in this industry, and that was rad. It was really, really fun. Created Co was cool. I mean, there's just and then it's a lot of people, dude. I mean, it's like somewhere I'm gonna say between 30 and 40,000
Yeah.
people, maybe more.
It was a big expo.
Felt
it
big,
was
didn't it?
it was very well attended, it felt like.
yeah.
I like what some of the bigger companies are doing to be able to get more people through their booths. So if I look at the La Marzocco booth over the evolution of the past 5 to 7 years,
Right.
7 years ago, they're always popular. They're always like the cool kid at school, but they used to have a booth with,
Yeah.
a machine or two. Cause I remember trying to get booth slots and
Right.
they want to give them to everybody, but they service, 80% of the specialty coffee industry. And now they have like a little villa. So there's
really
probably 6 or 7 different places
Yeah.
you could get booked at the La Marzocco booth to make coffee. And then you just get to see more coffee from more of these roasters, which is fun.
And they make it's like open floor plan in some regard, which they did last year as well. You can, aside from being literally behind whatever machine situation you are, it's like 2 machines in 2 grinder situations, and they're all different, across the board. But you can walk through the center and like to the other ones, almost whatever that floor plan might look like. And so you can be in the middle looking at their merch as well and different people's collabs with them, and pop out the other side. And it's like, cool, now I'm going to taste something off the mod bar from somebody else. And so you're right. There's like, I mean, I'm guessing, but they could probably have almost 12 different companies at their situation at the same time,
That's cool.
making product for people. And yeah, man, it was cool. It brings
Kind
a
of
lot
made
of
me
energy.
want a booth, like a little booth.
I mean, understandable.
Like an Art Presso sized booth. Plus, Chuck's squirming right now. He sees the money just flying out the door.
Yeah, I think a booth would be cool if we had if we do the intention and create experiences the way we create experiences. I think that would be
There's
totally
a few people who
rad.
talked about collaboration on booths.
I mean, collaborating with Steven at Art Presso would absolutely make sense to me.
Here's the throw out. Steven.
He would do it.
I know.
100% would
What
do
we're
it.
going to do is we're going to bring Cat and Cloud, Big Face and Art Presso together. We're all in the Bay. Jimmy if you're listening to this, let's do it. We'll have a real nice time there. And the booth just needs to be long. We'll set up an NBA 3 with a basketball, and that'll be one of the things. If somebody can hit X, whoever can hit X amount in like a certain period, they can win in our like a whole machine series to send home with them, and we can collab on that. It'll be super fun.
I want to have a little
I like it.
I'm in.
a podcast set up, because one of the things that I get excited about is I have all these conversations with people, and they all kind of start in a similar place, which is like, oh my gosh, we're excited and we're here. But then, over the course of 15 to 20 minutes, you get to absorb all these really interesting ideas. And it's like, I just want to capture that.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
the tapestry of specialty coffee, and have this some sort of confessionals booth where it's just like, cool, I'm just there in a seat, and instead of having these conversations one-on-one, like, we'll do it and record it and just share a little bit of everybody's story and their experience in the
Confessions.
industry. Yeah,
We'll play some Usher the
always
whole
thought that,
time.
like, it's my confession. just when I thought I said all I could say.
Yeah.
So something
My side hustle.
something to that effect. So I don't know if it being in San Diego makes it any cheaper for us. It probably does in a travel sense, but booth wise, probably not.
I think the booths are a static
The booths
cost.
are the booths are the booths,
but it is closer. We could drive it down.
we could drive it down.
We get a nice U-Haul. We could find Andre to come back. We can-
Nice minibus.
Yeah. Thanks to Andre, by the way, our roastery team leader. He just left after
he
6 years.
quit. He's a quitter.
He quit.
Shout out to all the quitters out there.
Shout out to all the people who
He's
just give up on
moving
you.
on to a
No,
very
we
nice
had a really,
place.
really amazing relationship. But he liked driving big trucks, so we could hire him back, is what I'm saying. Bring him on down. You want to drive a big truck for us, bro?
I'm American.
Yeah, he's a bona fide American. He would have loved Texas and all the things that were big over there. It was hot. It was humid.
Love the weather.
You know the Houston area. I did too.
I do.
The last day, it was extra hot. I went and sat outside in the grass. I did on multiple days, but for a quick minute, it's just the ground, just earth. And it was no breeze, and I was just dripping sweat. I was like, maybe I
You got
can't.
your own sauna, dude. Wherever.
Yeah, no, I
or
know. I was-
Steam room.
I was like,
guess
you know
would
what?
be
Normally
more
I'd rip the shirt
appropriate.
off, but standing outside of the expo with no shirt on, with more than enough people who know who I am, but not well enough for me to do that, probably not the call. There was a fountain I wanted to jump into, but anyway, I just got sweaty and got itchy from the grass and called it good.
Yeah,
Had myself some.
some nature.
Yeah, there was a Brazilian pop-up truck, so I had some fried.
Brazilian pop-up truck.
Yeah, dude, and I had some fried banana.
You just
not
pull
bananas,
up and they
fried
give you a
pineapple.
Brazilian and send you on your way.
Straight razor too. It was a straight raised Brazilian. Yeah, I was brave. Full body. Anyway, is there any questions?
We got a question from Will.
Finally, dude.
Woo!
What's up, Will?
Will,
Got a question for you. Do you also want?
Will.
Anyway,
I got a question for Will.
you first, Will. You first.
Will says, "Hi guys.
Shout out.
Just want to say you're so cool for doing all this." Yeah, that's right, Will. We are cool. You guys educate on things a lot, others don't. Oh, thank you, Will. So I'm thinking about, what if I set my sights on a company like La Marzocco? Great company.
What kind of sites you setting?
Well, let's find out. There are a few jobs that come up for the company in the UK, but that doesn't mean I could hit that target with more experience. But that doesn't mean I couldn't hit that target with a little more experience.
Got it.
Question mark. I'd be happy with any role. At the moment, sales associate seems like the way to go. What do you think about this? Would love to hear your take on a role like this, as I'm sure you interact with a lot of folks there. Thanks again, guys. Will.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks for the question, Will.
There's a lot of different versions of
I'm
similar
like,
questions. It's
oh.
like,
He's
I'm-
smart. He's like, if La Marzocco hears my name, no, I'm saying that's actually
Will.
I don't actually know though. That's a good question. In that, I know the people who work at La Marzocco. I'm not quite sure what specifically draws La Marzocco to who and how they hire.
like what their process is for
Yeah, like how's that
acquiring
connection
talent,
work?
so to speak.
Yeah, and I'm sure I could find out. I mean, it's like between all the amazing people I know who work and or have worked there.
Yeah, you can know because you know the backgrounds and the history of the people that have done similar positions. So,
Right.
so you
Oh,
can-
yeah. I need to derail this train for a second, because we were talking about the La Marzocco booth, and I wanted to say Scott Guglielmino.
Oh, I
and
was gonna get there.
Scott and Estelle,
Yeah,
great work with the bolo ties.
Yeah.
2 different kinds with a lion on there. I want one. I'll pay for it. Figure out how to make it happen.
it was all, by the
They
way,
both looked great. They were
ramping up to their party. which was epic.
I was very excited.
Yeah.
Big fan of the Bolo. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. Only feedback about the party, set the Eventbrite to cut off so there's not 3,500 tickets sold and only 800 spaces available inside.
That's what makes you feel special when you're in and all those freaking plebeians are
Oh, no,
outside.
it was
just,
awesome. It was so
rolling
fun.
around in the gutter, scrounging to be seen. Help, I want to be
Just
in.
saying, that was only 2,500 people. There was a line for a line, dude. It was so deep.
I feel like that's pretty standard.
People had to wait in line for like 3 hours to get in.
That's when you just need to get the big old group. I mean, take 20 people and make your own party, right?
I think
It's
people
like,
had
let's
to
go,
Yeah.
dude.
Anyways,
Yeah.
that was a nice build up. Great theming over the weekend. Great theming over the weekend.
But yeah,
No,
but you
can
guys
derail
know
that
a lot
party.
of people that have worked at La Marzocco and like what their background has been like before they worked there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the tricky thing with a company like that is who knows what it's like in real life.
Right.
Like everybody that I know that I communicate with really likes it, but I also know people who are in very high level positions who have put in a ton of time, and because of that probably have a lot of autonomy in the way that they maneuver. Like Scott is a perfect example.
He's head of all marketing now.
And he's been, he was a barista when we were baristas. He's done a whole bunch of things. He worked at Verve when we worked at Verve.
Sales.
He's done sales. He's done training. He's done
R&D.
tech work. He's done R&D.
He was also always
Product
a hospitality
development.
nerd.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's had a career on the same arc as ours. So it's 20 years plus. Mm-hmm. His coffee career probably started in 2004 or 5, so 20 years plus in this industry. Mm-hmm. And now I kind of feel like, well, one, I feel like La Marzocco is awesome, but I feel like someone like him would be thriving no matter where he is.
Yeah, he's in
insert any good company. Like if he was at Malkonig or he'd probably be having a good time too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what it's like to have a entry level position at any of these companies or how
I mean, one thing I would think
climbing the ladder works.
Yeah, one thing I would think would be helpful there would be coming as someone who has experience and knowledge of a lot of people within the industry, right? Because I could imagine that working at La Marzocco, you're going to interact with a lot of different companies and things like that. And the more that you can bring that experience up, before you start there, it would only help you get in the door there, right? The more people, contacts, things around the industry, I imagine would be a helpful thing with any kind of equipment sales position.
Right.
I mean, they're definitely hospitality focused. You got multiple branches now between home, Mod Bar, LM, and whatever else. There's probably more than just that, but I think what you could bank on knowing, at least I would guess, I would put money on this, is that they are pretty culture focused in that you really need to be amazing at hospitality and with people. Whether you're an introvert or extrovert, I wouldn't say that's a thing, but can you get to the level where you're engaged? Because that is something for sure that year after year after year, everybody who's involved with La Marzocco, at least in terms of who's shown up to things, and even internally when we go there, they're all pretty great at people connection, even if they've got quirks. Like even behind the scenes people who are just in the labs and stuff, you meet them and they're excited for sure about specifically the product and how they work, a lot of them, if not most of them. And then they're excited to talk to you about something relating to their business.
Right.
Yeah.
And they know what's going on inside their business. They know the owners, the leaders, like Kent, by the way, shout out. He wants to come hang out here because he's close. He wants to trip to NorCal. So if Kent Baki comes through, we
Kent.
got to hang
You're
out.
a
I know, I
hero.
told him multiple times. And then he came through and got coffee and it was great. But, every time we've been up there, him and that crew is in some regard getting together. And I know they have branches, like I said, and so I'm hoping and believing that the other branches do something similar. But there's definitely, I noticed that in Australia too, actually. What am I saying?
Yeah.
So that I would just say if you don't love the concept of hospitality and if you don't love learning truly about the history and the connection of how those machines work inside and out, it's going to not be for you. I assume it probably is, but I would say those two things are probably pretty pinnacle to even just start learning about prior to even trying to work there.
Yeah. And then looking at his question again, it almost feels like what he's asking is this a good role to get into,
or whatever your career trajectory
or it's
is. that I don't know? You know, like it's hard for me to speak to based on a question.
It almost seems like there's an opening that's sales associate. I maybe don't necessarily want to spend the rest of my life as a sales associate, but I do want to work for La Marzocco. And I would say,
I say go then.
right, yeah, don't worry
And
about
do
the
well.
job so much. The company's more important than the job. Like,
1000%.
Once you get inside.
once you get inside, like
Yeah.
focus on getting in the building. And again, it's just like just because you don't want to have this job long term doesn't mean you absolutely shouldn't show up every day and completely crush it. Like
Yeah. In
every
fact, you
job you
have to.
have,
Yeah.
you have to act like it's your last job or your final job. It's like you got to go with that energy and be like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna dominate this thing to the best of my ability. I'm gonna do the best job I possibly can
Right.
because that is. If you can get in the door, that's your real resume. Because once
Yeah.
you're in, people know how you work, you know the landscape of the company, and you want to be seen as, yep, Will's going to figure it out. Yep, I can count on Will. Will never leaves me hanging. Will's great with people. Will loves the company. Will loves this. And then, I mean, you see that here.
Yeah,
It's
we've
like,
seen that time and time again.
yeah, I mean, case in point, Johnson and Eddie are both those things, right?
Yeah.
It's like Johnson is the roastery team leader, despite him not having years of coffee roasting experience. He came in here, he's a frontline employee, coordinator working up, and he didn't show up with this grand plan to be like, I'm going to run the roasting department.
No, I actually didn't know.
He just, in all of these conversations that we have, there's people who come up again and again, and he was one of those people. And it's on both sides of the coin, right? There's people that are like problems again and again, and then there's people that are, man, I think
That are awesome.
That are awesome. And I remember saying this to him in his interview. It's like, you know, you're kind of known as dependable. You're in good standing with all your coworkers, and when things come up that need to get done, like your name shoots to the top of the list. Like, you know, why do you think that is? And there's a bunch of reasons for him, but it's the same thing with Eddie. It's Eddie's now working with Mark in our wholesale partner program. When he came in, frontliner, our sales team was full. Like there wasn't any opening. Again, no grand plans, but then the opening presented itself. And despite interviewing a bunch of people from outside the company who had a lot more
experience.
pure sales experience than Eddie,
Eddie's the one.
Eddie's the one. And it's this combination of passion, energy, love for the culture, like the way he connects with people, and just he's super dependable. Like you never second guess him.
And it's like we can see all of that extra stuff because those people have found their foot in the door.
Right.
And
Right.
so that's what's kind of applicable to anybody of like that idea of like if there's somewhere you really want to be, just get that foot in the
Get
door
inside.
and then you can show everyone there, you know, how hard you want it
Right.
and what you're about.
Yeah. So, Will, it doesn't matter if it's sales associate or janitor, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
if you want to be there, get in there, crush it at the job you have, because that's the best way to get to the job you want.
Yeah. Well said.
I think that's a great place to end.
Wrap. Appreciate y'all. So good seeing everybody
Oh, so
in
good.
Houston.
I miss you all already a
so
lot.
much good
actually.
energy. We're gonna get Charles down in San Diego next
someday.
year. We're gonna figure it out.
Next year in San Diego.
See you at
crossed.
the booth, Steven.
St. Diego and Jimmy.
Hey everyone, that's the podcast for the week. Thanks so much for listening. If you heard something that inspired you, or if you heard something that gave you more questions than answers, send us an email to podcast@catandcloud.com. And if you're looking to know more about us, then head to our website at catandcloud.com, where you can find everything we have to offer. A great place to start would be The Answer, our house coffee that's right for any occasion. Or the Best Friends Blend, a coffee that tastes just as good as the good it does by donating $1 per pound back to our partnering producers. Also, if you're feeling extra friendly, connect with us in the usual places, like YouTube, Instagram, pretty much everywhere that's hip. All right, that's it. Thanks for being awesome, everyone, and we'll be back next week.